Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Robin Perlmutter, peer counselor at Support Connection. I'll also be your moderator for this exciting presentation on managing stress during recovery from cancer. This program is in partnership with NewYork-Presbyterian Hudson Valley Hospital. Remember that both Dr. Berger and Chef Marti are sharing their expertise. Any information or questions pertaining to individual concerns should be discussed with your doctor. I'd like to introduce Carolyn Patio. She is the director for the Cancer Center and Rehabilitation Services at NewYork-Presbyterian Hudson Valley Hospital. Carolyn has had over 25 years of clinical and leadership experience within the New York Presbyterian health system. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you, Robin. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I have the wonderful pleasure of introducing our own Dr. Natalie Berger. Dr. Berger is an assistant professor of medicine at Columbia University, and she is the associate director of breast oncology at NewYork-Presbyterian Hudson Valley Hospital. So as you may know, she joined us in 2023, and she's doing a fantastic job in leading our breast oncology program here. And also I'm happy to report also that she has done a terrific job in leading us through our recent reaccreditation by the National Accreditation Program for Breast Centers. So she, along with the team, have done amazing work. So we're very, very happy that she has come to join us. She is also board certified in internal medicine and medical oncology. And so we are very, very happy that she's part of our team. Dr. Berger, do you want to take it from here?
Sure. Thank you so much for your incredibly kind introduction. It is such a pleasure to be here tonight with all of you and with our incredible Chef Marti. Thank you so much to Robin and Support Connection for all you do for all of our patients and for the community. We are so grateful. And I thank all of you for taking the time to join in tonight with us to talk about managing stress after a diagnosis of cancer. I'm going to start just by going through some talking points, teaching points. Please feel free to enter questions into the Q&A section in the chat. And then Chef Marti will take over and help all of us with cooking and, foods that are high in antioxidants and all of those wonderful things. Good. All right. So tonight's topic is all about managing stress during recovery from cancer. Next slide. So some of our objectives for tonight's talk is going to be the emotional toll of cancer, the importance of having a strong support group, lifestyle modifications, and also the importance of mindfulness and self-care. Next slide. So there's lots of ways and lots of things we can do to reduce cancer risk. Even after a diagnosis of cancer, people can be at increased risk for not just cancer recurrence, but also for a secondary cancer. And it's so important throughout our life, no matter what we're diagnosed with, no matter what we go through, to ensure that we're maintaining a healthy lifestyle. So there are a lot of different ways we can reduce cancer. And one of the ones I always start off with is avoiding all forms of tobacco. This is so important because tobacco increases risks of so many different cancers. It's not just lung cancer. And avoiding this is so important. When people are smoking, it can be so hard to quit, but just know that there are so many support groups out there, so many resources to help with tobacco cessation. Maintaining a healthy weight is also so important. Regular physical activity, especially weight bearing for breast cancer patients, because many of the medications that we give can affect bone density. Eating a healthy diet with plenty of fruits and vegetables is crucial, and some of the recipes we'll go through tonight are a great way to get lots of protein and vegetables in your diet. Limiting alcohol consumption is also important. Patients always ask me how much alcohol is okay, and I tell people that that really is an important conversation with your doctor. The American Society of Clinical Oncology really does recommend abstaining from all forms of alcohol. For many people, that is unrealistic or not something, that they really want to do. And so then we just talk about the safe limits for most patients. And that really is 1 drink for women, 2 drinks for men, trying to limit it as much as possible. Protecting your skin with sunscreen is so important. The UV damage from sun exposure can happen in any environment. It's important every day to put SPF on your face And anytime you're going to have prolonged sun exposure, make sure you put it on any exposed areas and even under clothes, because if there isn't SPF protection, your skin can still get exposed. It's so important to know yourself, know your family history and your risks, and talk to your doctor about your family history, because family history can be so important when thinking about other cancers, screenings, and potentially even genetic counseling. And of course, most importantly, getting regular checkups and cancer screenings. I can't emphasize enough the importance of cancer screenings, from breast cancer, colorectal cancer, cervical cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancer screenings for patients who have a history or are actively smoking. All of these things increase the risk of detecting a cancer early, and they are known to save lives. Next slide. So it's so important to talk about the emotional toll of cancer. And this is something that anybody who's been diagnosed fully understands and their families understand. But sometimes I feel like it's not talked about enough. The psychological distress that people can feel after a diagnosis and their families, it can range through the gamut of different emotions that we go through. It can cause anxiety, stress, fear, depression. And all of these things can impact, our cognitive abilities, our ability to fight infections. It impacts our immune system and our general health when we're going through something like this. And part of what we're going to talk about tonight is how we can boost our immune system through different foods, because the stress, the anxiety can affect our immune systems, and so can the treatments that we recommend for people. And so diet and nutrition is such an important piece of maintaining, a healthy balance when we're going through cancer treatments. It's also so important to make sure that you talk to your doctor when going through these emotions. It can be really hard to talk about this, but the doctor's office is a safe place. You can speak to your doctor, your nurse practitioner, anybody on your treatment team, because there are so many supports and resources that we can provide you with to help you during this difficult time. Physical well-being is also so important, and many of the treatments that we give or recommend can cause a lot of different side effects within your body. So people can feel fatigue emotionally, they can go through grief, they can experience insomnia, there can be impacts on sexual health, cognition, pain, fertility. There are so many more that I haven't listed. But this stuff is all so important to discuss with your doctor. If you're experiencing any of these adverse effects, if you're experiencing anything, there are recommendations that we can make for all of this. And many patients go through many of these things. And so we're not going to go through individual things for each of this, but there are so many things that we can do to help support you during this. And with fatigue, it's so important, again, in terms of diet and exercise, because the only known thing that has been proven to help with fatigue related to cancer treatments is exercise. Living with uncertainty is also something that's so difficult to go through, because even after someone's diagnosed, even after all of the treatments, there's still that uncertainty of what's next, what if, right? In terms of treatments, cure, the fear of recurrence and life expectancy, employment and their career. There's so many different things that go through someone's mind, and it's from the time they get diagnosed with cancer throughout their treatments, and even continues beyond the treatments, even when we hope for a cure. Living with uncertainty is unfortunately something that people do go through, and it's normal to experience. And it's so important to talk to your doctor about what we can do to help support you through this. There are so many resources, again, that we can help connect you with, that we can talk to you through. It's so important to have that support system, which we're going to go through, from family support, friend support, to support groups. For some people, individual, therapy can be so helpful. And all of this can take such a toll. And just know that we are all here to help support you through this. Next slide. Support after a cancer diagnosis. So this is just to go through lots of different ways that you can find support, and know that there are so many resources out there to help through this. Building a support network is key. Support doesn't come from one place. Support groups, like we talked about, can be incredibly helpful. Support Connection is here locally and has so many resources for patients with all types of cancer. Counseling can be incredibly helpful. And counseling can look different for everybody. For some people, support groups, in a group setting can be really helpful. For other people, it can be peer-to-peer counseling, which basically means where you talk to somebody else who's been through a similar diagnosis, treatments, and they help to talk to you through this. Because even though family and friends can be incredibly supportive, if somebody hasn't been through what you're going through, it can be really hard for them, to provide you guidance, even though they are doing everything they can to do so. Family and friends, of course, are so crucial to have that support around you while going through this. And online communities can also be incredibly helpful. I also always warn my patients with online communities to just be careful, because certain support groups, online where there's thousands of people, you really have to filter that information, and sometimes there can be wrong information. So if you ever read something on an online community, just always bring it up to your doctor if you have a concern, because sometimes what you read online may not necessarily be the truth, which I know we all know. And it's important to remember that everybody's different, and everybody's experiences and what their body feels and their mind feels and what they go through is different. Communicating effectively, of course, is key. It's so important to have open and honest conversations with loved ones. For some people, it can be really hard to talk about their diagnosis, or they want ways to share that with family and loved ones. And that's another thing that's important to talk to your provider about, because we have social workers and other people who can help you with this. Setting boundaries and asking for help from family and friends and the medical team are also important. I always tell people setting boundaries is key, because everybody wants to help, right? And people want to be there for you. But sometimes there can be certain things where it's too much, or you just need a little bit of space as you're going through this process. And it's okay to tell people, thank you so much, but I'm okay. Also, asking for help when you need it, whether it be from family or your medical team, is so crucial. Financial support is huge. It's known that the financial toxicity from cancer care is so impactful on almost anybody who goes through this. The out-of-pocket costs for so many different medications, for treatments, for losing time from work, travel, so many different reasons. And it's really important to talk to your team, because we do have financial support and services that can help with things. I also tell my patients, if we prescribe a drug and the copay is really high, it's important to let us know that, because even though you may be able to figure something out where you can pay that copay, it can be incredibly burdensome. And there are many, many, not just financial supports that you can do, but also many of the companies themselves have support, where if you fill out some paperwork where they can help bring down that cost. So always talk to your doctor if there is a high copay to some of the medications that you're receiving. Resources and organizations are also key. Like I said, online communities can be really helpful, but online resources and which resources is also really important. So it's important to make sure that you're reading your information and getting it from really good sources. The American Cancer Society is a phenomenal source and wealth of information for every type of cancer, for people who are high risk, all kinds of things. And it's a wonderful website and resource to read through. Just another example for my breast cancer patients, the Susan G. Komen Foundation has a wonderful website, Support Connection, all of this online and resources. We can give you so many additional supports. And if you need any help, it's always important to ask your doctor, what's a good resource? What's a good website I can go to if I wanted to learn more? And we can help guide you. Workplace support policies is also really important, because there can be flexible work accommodations that are possible, time off. HR department can be really helpful with this. So that's also an important thing to bring up. Next slide. So the importance of a healthy lifestyle, this is something that we talk about a lot, and something that's so important, and something that we're going to help talk with you and with Chef Marti in a few minutes. Diet is so, so important when going through this, from taste changes that can happen during chemotherapy to a reduced appetite. All of these things are things that patients go through when they're going through these treatments, and it can be really hard to find something that you want to eat. I tell my patients, there can be foods you used to love that now taste terrible, and foods you used to hate that now taste good, and it's so confusing. And so finding nutrient-rich foods that really help to support you through these treatments is important, and finding ways to get creative with foods is also really, really important. Hydration is also key, drinking enough water. I tell my patients, if they're having trouble eating, to make smoothies. Throw any fruits and vegetables that you like in a blender. You can add protein powder. Peanut butter is a great source of protein, Greek yogurt, and drink, calories, because it's a great way to get, additional hydration. Eating healthy during treatment, recovery, and beyond is such an important part of all of this. And hopefully tonight we can help give you some great recipes that can help you through this as well. Exercise is another crucial part of this. And, it's hard when you're going through treatments and your body's exhausted and you're not feeling well to say, how am I going to get up and exercise? But even a little bit goes a long way. Even going out to get some fresh air in nature and just walking a little bit with somebody can go a long way. A little bit of fresh air really does make a difference. And when you're sitting at home or sleeping a lot, your body gets weaker. It's important to rest and sleep when your body tells you you need that, but it's also important during the day to get up and move around. once you're in recovery, you know, I tell my breast cancer patients that a lot of the medications we give, especially the aromatase inhibitors or tamoxifen for patients with hormone positive breast cancer, they can affect your bones and they can make your bones weaker over time. And after our 30s, it's really impossible to build bone, but we can try to maintain the best we can. And weight-bearing exercises go a long way. Yoga, Zumba, Pilates, bar, those are all incredible exercises that can be really helpful. And I always tell everybody, make sure you speak to your doctor to see what exercises are best for you, because depending on what you're going through, depending on where you are in treatment and recovery, recommendations can be different. Next slide. Mindfulness and self-care are crucial in all of this. Meditation, deep breathing can be so helpful in times of stress and managing that stress. There are apps, mindfulness apps, that are phenomenal that can help really try to relax you. It can be helpful for insomnia. It can be helpful for stress and anxiety. It really can make a huge difference. And one time doing it may not, you know, help, but if you keep doing it and you get on a routine with these apps, they can really make a huge difference. Exercises like yoga, Tai Chi can be amazing for mindfulness. They're great for the whole body, the mind, the body, the soul. I tell people it really helps with everything. And I always say nature, getting out in nature, enjoying nature. You know, we live in such a beautiful part of the world, and, you know, getting outside, even when it's cold, and bundling up a little bit and just getting fresh air outside can make such a huge difference, you know, in our mental state and our stress. Self-care. It is so important to think about yourself during all of this too, beyond just the treatments and trying to recover. Hobbies and interests are so important. And sometimes it can be really hard when you're so busy with everything else to find something that you enjoy. But it really does make a big difference. And it can be anything that you find joy in, and it can really reduce stress levels. Exercise, sleep, and managing stress are key. And all of these things can help with mindfulness, help with self-care, and help with all of the different physical side effects and emotional effects that, you know, a cancer diagnosis can have. Next slide. Oh. So I just want to thank all of you for taking the time to tune in tonight. The next part of our program is going to be so fun and interactive, and Chef Marti is going to join us to help us cook an incredible meal.
So we're going to get started with Marti Wolfson's cooking demonstration. Marti Wolfson is a chef and culinary nutrition coordinator at the Chef Peter X. Kelly Teaching Kitchen at NewYork-Presbyterian Hudson Valley Hospital. Marti is a certified health supportive chef and nutrition educator of over 15 years. Thank you, Marti.
Thank you, Robin. Thanks for having us back again. We're so glad to be here. And welcome everyone to the Teaching Kitchen. If you haven't been here before, you can Google Chef Peter X. Kelly Teaching Kitchen, or if you want to put the website link in there, Robin, in the chat box. Please do check out our classes, our upcoming classes. And also, I'm really proud our team has created over the last year, building a library of resources, videos, handouts that you can print out. And some of that I'm going to go over tonight as it pertains to this topic. Dr. Berger, thank you so much. I love having the doctors in the house. I'm going to get her cooking and assisting. This is truly culinary medicine, where we bridge the science of medicine with culinary arts. And you said so many things, and I'm going to specifically talk about food and nutrition tonight, but you know, the common denominator between the nutrients we're going to talk about to focus on, exercise, mindfulness, I feel like the common denominator is really helping the body to mitigate and manage stress and inflammation. We're trying to keep inflammation at bay because that's going to help our immune system stay regulated. And so I don't want to hit you over the head with a lot of science tonight. I wanted to just focus on some key nutrients and where to get them and look for them in the supermarket when it comes to how you can use food to combat stress. So the top heavy hitters for me are root vegetables, and what a good time to talk about that because they're high in magnesium. I'm going to focus on sweet potatoes tonight. Magnesium is wonderful in helping reduce inflammation and stress. It's calming. That's why a lot of people will take magnesium supplements at night. I do. And so I'm gonna put some sweet potatoes into a soup tonight. Another big category for me are the leafy greens. At least a serving or two a day. Leafy greens are really high in B vitamins. This is essential for brain health and supporting cognitive focus, lots of different areas of brain health. So leafy greens, including kale, arugula, chard, even your broccoli and cruciferous vegetables. So we are going to put some kale in that soup too. Then we're looking at healthy fats. And I'm going to use steelhead trout tonight, which actually just looks just like salmon and tastes like salmon. People love this when we use this in class. It's called steelhead trout. It has high omega-3s like salmon. And we know that foods rich in omega-3s, salmon, walnuts, a lot of cold water fish, even an avocado, these are really also needed to help with all kinds of brain function. They help reduce anxiety, any like tendency towards depression. So lots of news about fish and brain health lately. And then we've got this category of whole grains, but also flax seeds, which I'm going to use in a chocolate truffle. So what whole grains and nuts and seeds, and like in particular flax seeds, these are high in what's called phytoestrogens. These are plant compounds, also soybeans. And maybe you've read that this is really bad for breast cancer, but actually the research shows that it's really beneficial in reducing breast cancer and the reoccurrence of breast cancer. So I'm going to show an easy way to use flax seeds. Okay, I'm going to get started because one thing takes a little bit. We're going to do a slow roasted steelhead trout or salmon. Hopefully you all got the recipes. If you didn't, I think just email Robin or myself. And Robin, you can put my email in the chat box too if anybody wants to email me after the program. Okay.
Oh, will do. Thank you.
Okay. So we are going to start with this slow roasted citrus salmon. And this is how I connect the science with how I'm going to build a menu. I start with the nutrients like I just talked about, and then I go from there. You know, sure, I have a big library of recipes in my mind, but sometimes I Google stuff and look up recipes too with those ingredients in mind. So it always starts with the key nutrients I'm focusing on, and then I build out from there. And if you feel like you need help from cookbooks, I can't recommend this one enough. This is Cancer Fighting Kitchen by Rebecca Katz. She's written about 6 books, but this is one of her earliest. She was really a pioneer in talking about cancer fighting foods. She was my mentor in the field. And you will learn all kinds of things in here. And one of the most important is what she calls FASS, F-A-S-S, which stands for fat, acid, sweet, and salt, which she built upon her experience when her own father was going through cancer treatment and his taste buds were changing. And she had to what we call tease the taste buds. And so it's how you play with these 4 ingredients, fat, acids, salt, and sweet, or sweet and salt, and how you can actually manipulate the taste buds to taste better. So we have a handout on our website. I'm sorry, we have a video where I go through this, and it's called Teasing the Taste Buds. You can look it up under videos. And so I walk you through that process. And I'll talk about how I do it when I make the dishes. So we are going, I have got my oven on 300 degrees, and you can use a baking pan, or I'm just going to use a skillet. And I'm going to season my steelhead. I took the skin off. I just kind of filleted it by running my knife under the flesh. Okay, and I'm going to put this right in the skillet. And then we're going to add a ton of citrus and whatever herbs you have on hand. And if you don't have any herbs, don't worry, still make the dish, but you probably have maybe lemons or oranges hanging around. Why citrus? Citrus is wonderful to cook with. So citrus, actually, the vitamin C in citrus really supports the adrenals. And the adrenals are where our stress hormones come from, like cortisol. So this can just really help nourish the adrenals. So I've got my this already looks good, doesn't it? We haven't even done anything. Okay, and now I'm just gonna add some fresh thyme. This is some of our fresh oregano from our garden outside, and oregano. That's it. I'm not even gonna chop it. I'm just gonna add it like this. And I'm going to then pour a cup of olive oil right over it. It sounds like a lot, but this is really just to make a very moist, luscious salmon. So I'm just going to toss it around. I think they drink about 1/4 of a cup of olive oil in the Mediterranean a day. So big fan of drinking it, smearing it on the body while you cook. I mean, doesn't this look good? This is just,
It also smells amazing.
it smells amazing. The citrus is already infusing into the olive oil. And you're going to have this wonderfully scented olive oil to just baste over your fish when it's done, okay? If you don't like salmon, you could try this with halibut or cod or flounder. Experiment with it. But I've got my temperature a little bit lower than I would usually bake, okay? It's at 300. We're going to slowly let this bake. So this is going to go in as simple as that. And then I'm going to finish it with some fresh herbs. Okay, just going to give my hands a little bit of a wash. And we're going to start our soup. If there's any, feel free to ask questions. I'm a good multitasker. So Robin can shoot them to me. Okay, one of the key things with prepping in the kitchen when you're going through treatment or you're recovering is make sure you ask your loved ones, your friends to do the cooking for you. So that, and here's, when I was private chefing for 15 years, what I found was either people wouldn't ask, they felt bad, or their friends would just bring over dishes that they didn't really want to eat. So you should really be in the driver's seat of your meals. Find recipes, and this is what I would do with clients. I would build, a menu, and that's what we would send off to caregivers. Okay, if you don't have the strength to do this. So I'm going to get my pot on medium-high heat. Move this. Also really nice to have a colorful pot. It just adds to the whole sensation, the whole sensory experience of cooking. We just got this one donated. I love this color. Okay, so we're going to start with an onion. And I'm going to go over just a little bit of knife skills here since we're all together. I'm going to cut off the very ends, slice right through the middle, and then take off the peels. Now, we save the peels in our kitchen. We put this in what's called a treasure bag. So onion peels, carrot peels, celery ends, parsley that's left over and looking sad, thyme, that all goes into a Ziploc freezer bag. And as you fill that, and if you fill another bag, great, that all can get dumped into a pot filled with water, and you have homemade vegetable broth. And that's how we made that today. Look how dark it is. It almost looks like chicken broth. So this is the key to our soups. We make soup for our infusion unit twice a week. And everybody says, oh my gosh, what do you put in here? And I think the secret is really our broth, because it's homemade. The store-bought stuff just tastes fake. It has strange ingredients in it like tomato paste or mushrooms or caramel coloring. So I really recommend, if there's anything for people to make you, it's broth. And we have a really great how to make your own broth PDF on our website for vegetable broth, chicken broth, and beef bone broth. That's how much we love making broth. Okay, so I'm gonna cut right down the lines of the onion. And I'm just leaving a little anchor at the end. And then I'm gonna go right through the middle, leaving an anchor, and then dicing. Do you know how to do that?
Not like that, but I mean,
We got to get the doctors cooking more. Okay, so I'm going to add some oil to my pot. I'm just using some olive oil. We'll throw this in. Of course, you can also buy onions already diced, and that's fine if you're in a pinch. I just find that sometimes they taste a little bit funny when they're already prepped for you. Okay. All right, so that's the sound we want, nice sizzle. And then we want to flavor our onions right away. We're going to flavor every layer, a little bit of kosher salt. And we'll get these moving. And this is to sweat the onions. The salting is not just for flavor, but to sweat, to keep them from burning. I'm going to add some celery. And some diced sweet potato. About a cup and a half. That was a kind of a large sweet potato. And I'll add a little more salt. Okay, so we're gonna let this saute a little bit. And I'm gonna have you chop up some rosemary as I demo some kale. Okay, so with rosemary, I love this. You just strip the leaves right off. This feels like definitely like we're getting ready for Thanksgiving.
yeah, it does. It also smells like Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So you're going to use a knife, careful, it's sharp. And you have to press a little bit firm on rosemary, right? Because yeah, there you go. Okay, now I'm going to correct the doctor. This is when I get to, or bad student. Okay, yeah, keep that finger wrapped around. This will give you trigger finger. So keep that wrapped around. Yep. Good. Okay, so while Dr. Berger is mincing away, I'm going to talk about kale. So for tonight, I'm using the variety called dinosaur kale or lacinato. If you find curly kale, it's all good, any variety. Okay, and I just want to show you the way to strip it. I pinch it from the middle and pull, and then turn it around and pull the other side. It can be very stress reducing to do this. This is also really fun for kids. Okay, so we've got our kale stripped. And then I would roll this up. In culinary school, we would say roll it like a cigar. I don't say, that's terrible. I don't know why we would say that. We definitely don't want to say that tonight. Okay, I'm gonna borrow the knife for a second. Yeah, you can just. Okay, and then we call this chiffonade. Okay, so you cut it in like hair-like strands. This is one of my favorite things to cut. And then I'll just give it a chop in the middle. Okay. Alrighty, so this is looking good. Once everything is kind of glistening, that's when I throw in some garlic. If garlic upsets you, if it upsets your digestive system, you can also do garlic powder. Usually that's a little bit better for people that have a hard time with the fresh garlic, or just leave it out. This will still be delicious without it.
Marty, do you have time for a question?
Of course, yep.
Are there foods that you recommend to help increase red blood cells and hemoglobin?
Yes, iron-rich foods.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, meat has the highest, red meat. So a little bit, a little bit of red meat in moderation, but also the greens. The greens have a nice amount of iron. And then beans, especially black beans. And because, what's that? Yeah, that's great. Nice job. And I'll just say about beans, because when you are going through treatment, and the digestive system can get compromised, and stress can compromise the digestive system, of course. The way to tolerate beans better, because sometimes I hear patients say, you know, I can't do beans, is to soak them from dried. So you get dried beans, you soak them overnight, and then either pressure cook them or cook them in a pot. And that can be a little bit easier on the digestive system. Okay, this is looking good. There's some browning on the bottom of the pot, which is what we want, okay, because we're gonna use that flavor in the broth. And yeah, we're gonna wait for the rosemary for a second. Okay, this is how I add the broth. So we're gonna do about a half of a cup and deglaze the pot and get all the goodness up from the bottom that's stuck. Let that sizzle a bit. Oh my gosh, that smells good.
I wish that I could just take
I
a smell and
know.
push it through the screen.
We
I
had-
know some of you were cooking at home. I wish I ate before I came here.
Oh, I'm glad you didn't. I wanted to feed you. And then we're gonna add the rest of it. Okay. Now this is unseasoned. So that's the other reason why I like to make homemade, because then I can season it to taste. Usually there's some measure of sodium in your boxed broths, okay? All right, so we're gonna bring this up to a boil and then drop it down to a simmer. I'm also gonna add the white beans at this point. If you wanted to turn this into more of like a chicken sweet potato soup, that would work too. Just some, you know, leftover cooked chicken can go right in. But we're gonna puree. The reason why this is more vegetarian focused is because we're actually gonna puree half of the white beans with the sweet potatoes and make a creamy soup from it. But you can certainly make this your own. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of rosemary now to flavor this. This would certainly be a nice soup to serve at Thanksgiving. Okay. And we're gonna wait to add the kale towards the end because this does not take a long time. And then we're gonna garnish just with some leftover things I have like parsley and scallion. So while we're waiting for this to come to a simmer, we're going to make some chocolate truffles because I think it's really important to always have a little nutrient dense caloric bite at hand. Okay, whether you're going to treatment, coming from treatment, or you're in recovery and you're just not that hungry, but you need a little something. I think this is a great example of something highly nutritious, little sweet, and comforting. Okay, let's clear. I'm just going to move this over. Yeah. And we can set that right on top. Okay. Alrighty, so we're gonna bring our food processor over. This can be done in like a regular 14-cup food processor or even a mini chopper. And I suggest doubling or tripling this recipe because you can stick these truffles right in the freezer and pop them out and they'll defrost really fast, okay? So here we go. Let's just go over our ingredients for a second, then I'll hand them to you and you can dump them in. We've got cocoa powder. This is just dark chocolate cocoa powder, high in flavonoids, good antioxidants, and I say little cocoa powder goes a long way. I love chocolate, who doesn't? So we're gonna add this. And we're gonna add a 1/3 cup of walnuts. Walnuts, high in magnesium, high in omega-3s, the lignans that we were talking about in flaxseed. So we're going to actually add a 1/3 cup of flax seeds, or a 1/4 cup, sorry. And then any kind of nut or seed butter that you like. So I've got peanut butter here tonight. I've done this with almond butter too, if you want to scoop that out. I'm going to cover my soup. And then we're going to do a 1/3 cup of honey right in the same container. Honey is, I think we focus that it's a sweetener, you know, that it has some fructose, but think of honey, a good honey too, especially like a local honey, as having prebiotic, which is the food that the probiotic needs to feed on. So it's really good for the gut and the immune system. Okay, and then a little bit of vanilla. A pinch of salt, just a pinch. Oh yeah, just that's why I said it, yeah. Okay, good. And we just blend this up. I'm just gonna get some shredded coconut. Okay, I'm just gonna scrape this down. This looks good. So it's gonna come together like a thick batter. More time. There we go. And you're gonna roll it in something. Some options are a shredded coconut, sesame seeds. You could do it in dark cocoa powder, cinnamon. Okay. I think we should taste it just to make sure it's okay. Don't you? Let me get you. Let me get you a spoon.
I get to be the taster.
Yes.
That's amazing.
How's that? Good?
That is incredible.
Okay, so we're gonna do a couple in sesame seeds, which sounds a little strange, but it gives it a really nice crunch. And then we'll do some in the shredded coconut. So let's take the blade out so you don't cut yourself. Okay, and then if you want to roll, you can just take a spoonful about. I'll just do one for them in the camera. They should be, if you use a nice nut butter that's more on the oily side than dry, you know, it'll come out a bit oily, which actually helps you roll it. And then we'll just toss it in the sesame seeds. These are so nice. 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon or anytime. Where's our plate? Is there a plate over there? Oh yeah, that little plate. We'll put them on there. Okay. So you can keep going with that.
Okay.
And then you can do some shredded coconut. Any questions, Robin, while I just clean my hands?
I think you answered them all. There was that one question about increasing your iron-rich foods.
Okay, good.
I have a question though. It's like cacao. You see advertisements now for, am I saying that right? Cacao?
Cacao,
Yeah.
right.
They show it as like a beverage now, like to make a drink instead of coffee. Is that like any better for you or?
No, I mean, raw cacao is a more pure form. So in a way, it might have some more nutrition because it hasn't really been processed. So it's going to have maybe a higher level of antioxidants. But most of those drinks are, you know, just marketing, and I wouldn't say it's any better. I mean, in the like now through the winter, I'll make hot chocolate with just a good dark cocoa powder.
It's good to know. Permission from the chef. So we do have a couple of more questions. We have, how much cocoa powder are you using for this?
I believe it's 1/3 cup in the recipe. And
Okay,
depending on how small, let me see if I put how many it makes. I don't think I did, but you're getting a fraction of it. I mean, you're getting maybe a teaspoon, which is a good amount
In each truffle.
in each truffle.
And then how much, in general, how much animal protein do you recommend? I don't know if that's something you can recommend across the board or.
4 to 6 ounces in a serving. But I think, Dr. Berger, you would agree too, like it's really about, even if you just take a bite or two and not let yourself go too long without eating is more important, even if it's just an ounce of protein.
The advice I give is, in days where you're really having a hard time eating, or in days where everything just tastes bad, instead of aiming for 3 big meals, try and get 5 smaller meals. And just taking a few bites or eating a small meal, instead of a snack, or your snack can be, a small meal, is much easier than trying to force yourself to eat 3 full portions. And people find that much more manageable and less overwhelming.
Yes. Means thinking about, like Dr. Berger had mentioned, having a smoothie ready, maybe in the refrigerator. Smoothie will keep for a couple days. Having maybe some yogurt at hand that you can just add a little honey and fruit to. Maybe a rice pudding. Like really think of what's going to be nourishing and comforting to you. I remember when I first started cooking, because when I left culinary school, I went right into cooking for patients with mostly 4th stage cancer. And I thought I was just gonna, give them all my tricks with cooking healthy, and I'd come back the next week and the food would still be in the fridge. And this is when I found Rebecca Katz, and I called her up and I said, what do I do? And she said her best advice was make risotto, make something really comforting, but make it with good ingredients, right? Make it with love, make it with good ingredients. And lo and behold, they started to really eat the food. But it's really about what you desire, and how you or a caregiver can make it really palatable. So a soup like this, if the sweet potatoes weren't so sweet, let's say, they were underripe, and you finish making this and it just doesn't taste that great. You're not getting that, oh, this is delicious. Maybe you need to add a little bit of sweet, remember fat, acid, sweet, and salt. Maybe you need to add a little bit of maple syrup. And I mean like a drape of maple. Maybe a spritz of lemon. That fat, acid, sweet, and salt is a game changer in playing with your flavor profiles. Okay, so these sweet potatoes cooked up pretty fast because I cut them nice and small. So I think we're going to blend a little bit of it. And then we're going to play the fast game, which is really fun, seeing if it's missing anything. Okay. So I'm going to use the NutriBullet here. You can use any high-speed blender. And I'm going to put a bit of it in here with some white beans and the sweet potato. Thank you. They look beautiful. Do you want to show them?
That from that recipe, and they're not heavenly shaped, but I got
About 10?
Yeah, 11.
Oh, good.
And I snuck some too, so maybe 12.
Love it. Thank you for the help. Okay. All right, so I'm just doing like a cup to thicken this. You can certainly do more, or you can leave it as is. Let's put this in the Ninja. Oh. Is it gonna work? Okay. Let's see if I can get this off. People are scared of the Vitamix. I'm scared of this thing. Okay.
It's cute.
Mm.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that does smell good. You could blend the whole thing if that feels more nourishing, just to sip on a pureed soup. You see how that made that so much richer looking?
It looks like it's cream, but
Yes,
it's not.
yes. Okay, now we're gonna add our chiffonaded kale. And a little bit more salt, and then let's bring a cutting board back and I'll have you chop up some of these herbs. This is so nice and light, but hearty. We're gonna dish this out and show you. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of lemon. And then let's try it and see if it needs anything. And be honest. What? Okay. All right, let's just let that kale cook for a minute. And I'm just gonna bring out the salmon and see how it's doing, because my sense is that it's done. I'm gonna
And you
grab some
cook
oven.
that on, Marty, Chef Marti, you cook that on 300?
300. So that's gonna go, normally I would cook fish at, let's say 400, about 15 to 18 minutes. This is 300 at 25, 30 minutes. This oven usually runs hotter. Yeah, this is really nice. Okay. So this is done.
Beautiful.
And I'm just gonna cut that open and just make sure. You would serve this with the oranges and lemons. You can eat them just as is. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, do we have a bowl? Yes, I'm gonna give this to you. So let's see if it needs anything.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're tasting for if it needs any acid. Oh, I'm gonna go right in here. Any acid. I know these sweet potatoes are sweet. They're local. We were just given them.
I think this is perfect. It's amazing.
Mm.
This is unbelievable.
People always ask when they're trying something, how do I know what it should taste? You should just, what does Rebecca, Rebecca says that momentary spasm of delight. You should just be like, I need more. Or my mom says it tastes like more.
So somebody's
that one.
asking
Like,
how
it
much,
tastes like,
oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead,
I didn't want, one of the women is asking, how much salt are you using?
I'm using, I don't have an amount. I just salt to taste, meaning just to where it tastes delicious. I'm not over salting. And for some people, it may mean using less than me because maybe you're not used to salting as much. So you're just gonna salt this soup to taste. Same thing with the fish. A dessert doesn't need much. We just used a very little pinch.
It's a very small amount of milk. And what I love about this is so many of my patients have trouble eating, and I tell them soups, hearty soups are key. And I love a soup like this because you can puree it. And if you're having trouble eating, you're having trouble swallowing, right? You have mouth sores, you just don't want to chew. You get all the same value, whether you eat it pureed or not. And so something like this is wonderful. You have the beans for protein. I mean, this is packed, loaded, full of so many amazing nutrients, and it's almost like a meal in a dish.
It is a meal. Yes, that's
And
the point.
The nice thing is you could do two of the items in advance, like not for the day of your meal, like the fish, I guess you want to make the day you're going to eat it.
The fish the day of or the day before, and soups and most soups can be frozen. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can make this way ahead. I'm just gonna add some fresh herbs to the salmon. This is just a mix of cilantro or parsley. Something to know about cilantro and rosemary are they're considered what's called chelators. They actually help pull toxins out of the body. They're really super herbs for that. So I try to put cilantro and rosemary in wherever I can.
So one of the people participating had a really nice comment. They said it's like lessons in chemistry dinner at 6. How do you get this all done in 45 minutes?
That's so nice. I saw the series. I love that.
It's a great book and
It's a great
series,
book.
yeah.
Okay, so try this. So I just take the oil and I spoon it right over. Are you okay? I'm
That's my
sorry.
love.
Are you okay eating in front of the
Oh my
camera?
God, I'm the happiest person in the world right now. I think.
And the truffles, I would make and chill for at least an hour. How's that?
Oh my God.
Good.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan of fish. This is unbelievable.
No, this is what people say about the steelhead trout that
Wow.
don't love salmon. It's milder. And it's like foolproof the way it comes out.
So do you have to buy that wild?
So you can't find it wild in the
Okay.
stores. This one is farm raised, but what I would say, because I don't usually buy farm raised fish, the way they're raising the steelhead, which is usually around Finland and Iceland, are very clean, sustainable practices. No antibiotics, no funny dyes. Yeah. The truffles, I prefer them chilled for like at least an hour to firm up. If you can wait and not gobble them up.
I'm ready for dessert.
Look at us, we made a mess.
I'll help clean up. I got to eat, I can at least clean up.
How did we do? Oh, good. And we have 4 minutes to spare.
Wow, strong work.
Let's turn this off.
Yes, there's a couple of minutes left. So if anyone has any additional questions, comments.
Oh, this is also, I just wanted to mention, since butternut is so nice right now, this is also delicious with butternut. Cubed up, and buy it cubed up. It's a pain in the neck to break down, I know. So just buy it cubed.
Thank you. We have one more question. Just a comment. Excellent, Chef Marti and Dr. Berger. That was the comment. And what a wonderful way to end the presentation and demonstration. I want to thank you both from our hearts at Support Connection and everyone here that's here tonight. Just for a great presentation, great cooking demonstration, so informative, really delicious. Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.